understand the word risks when still you're in the process of trying to discover. But once it's discovered, it's not anymore a risk, is it?
Well, even the big companies have budgets and diets they have to go on, and with the oil prices have been down for several years now, all the big companies have to allocate their capital very carefully. So there are other things you may not want to give up on completely in doing, so you bring in other partners and have smaller shares.
All right.
So it's natural.
This is natural.
That's natural.
With all the discoveries that are happening in the region, we could, I mean, every now and then you hear discoveries that are happening in different parts. Does this mean that prices will go down further, or it means what?
Well, in the world, you're talking about the entire world.
The entire world, based on all these discoveries in the region, at least.
Well, in 2015, there have been less oil and gas discoveries than there has been for the last 60 years. Normally, in any given year, there's 400 to 500 oil and gas discoveries globally. There was only about 140 last year. So there have been a lot in the region, but there's particularly been a lot in Egypt, which is really good for Egypt, for its own resources. But discoveries have been tailing off.
Has this been, kind of contributed to or compensated through shale oil by the Americans, or is this is just far-fetched?
No, I think the shale oils are something new. I mean, economists in oil and gas have a crystal ball, and they usually have a rearview mirror. This time, they don't have the rearview mirror to see what's happening with this experience with shales. But I think as the price goes up, the shale comes up. It's a swing producer. And I think OPEC and the non-OPEC producing countries who reached an agreement on the 30th of November, it's very important. They will probably try to balance these two.
All right.
And probably keep the world from having big price spikes.
Okay. Back again to Egypt, and the Prime Minister today made a specific commitment about paying the overdues to the international companies. Tell me the situation, how you looked at it, because I believe there was, at a certain stage, we were standing in a locked situation, and then what happened?
Well, it was tough a few years ago. Of course, the oil price was $100 a barrel. For Egypt, this was a very difficult time. For BP, we worked straight through in Egypt for 50 years without missing any days of production. We are deeply committed to working in Egypt. We understood the problems, and I think our business, you do transactions, but actually you have relationships. So in the tough times, you stand firm, you go with it, and then as the country's circumstances now greatly improved, the Prime Minister's commitments are absolutely coming through. So that's how we look at this, long-term relationships. And we have very large fields that will come on stream this year as well in Egypt. You'd probably be surprised to know that in 2016 and 2017, BP will be investing more money in Egypt than any other country in the world. And we invest in about 40 countries, so it's a big commitment for our company.
Is this related to politics by any means, or this is just pure business?
Well, I think oil and gas always has an element of politics to it. That's just the nature of what it is. It's always on the strategic radar of countries. So we try to stay out of politics ourselves, but we try to work with governments. And currently, there isn't a country in the world that I know of now where the president, a prime minister, and energy minister are more supportive and cutting through red tape so that decisions can be made quickly. And that's also important for us.
The reason that my question was about politics is, for example, you'd hear the British government saying, we're increasing our investments in Egypt through BP, for example. And maybe I would beg to differ with the British ambassador in Cairo, our friend John Casson, and I tell him this is not a decision by the British government, this is a decision by BP, so it's not thanks to you, it's thanks to the BP business plan. So maybe I'm wrong. Would you?
Well, I think there's always an element of cooperation and support. The British government absolutely supports what we do, and there are programs that the British government is doing in Egypt today that I think are very supportive of Egypt, and the two come together. I think there has to be an element of support, but the British government doesn't underwrite what we do. For example, I know that we are always saying to the British government, we think that getting more airplane flights back would be good for Egypt and for Britain. We pass those messages back, And I see the British government now has 41, well, not the British government, but British flights a day, 41 flights a week in and out of Egypt now, so it's coming back. So we find ourselves in some ways of being supportive of Egypt to the British government and vice versa.
Yeah, that's precisely where I was going to. I mean, you work as ambassadors yourselves. The business community is the best ambassador between people because you can resolve political issues if they're not really severe.
Well, I'm a big believer that trade between nations reduces tensions, oftentimes eliminates conflicts. So I think trade is a good way, it's a natural way. We have people, Egyptians working in the UK, we have British and all international staff working here in Egypt. So we're on the ground, we know what the issues are, and I think it's just natural for us to just point out different points of view. And if we can help in that way, I think it's great.
BP would be affected by any chance with Brexit?
Well, we're a global company, work in many countries around the world. Interestingly, our revenues are in dollars because of the price of oil, and we pay a dividend in dollars. So we're a great global company located in London. So there isn't an immediate impact on us.
All right. Okay, just let me conclude that by taking a look at the future, the near future. How do you see the future of a country that is trying, I'm talking about Egypt here, trying to come up of a lot of problems in the past few years, and economic reform, which is affected directly the standard of living of the middle class and the lower classes. How do you see the future in this respect? Because definitely you must have studied it because it affects your business.
I am very optimistic, and I'm optimistic for really concrete reasons in my view. One, there is confidence and stability in Egypt today. These big gas projects that will come on, one, the West Nile Delta, the BP one, and Eni's project, the Zohr project later on this year, will bring in massive amounts of gas that will keep the country from having to pay for a lot of other imports that would happen. In 2018, there'll be a full year of these projects coming on. And then, as the country evolves, the Eastern Mediterranean hub of Egypt can actually become an energy exporter as well. It will also, these big projects, put thousands of people to work. So we have tens of thousands of people that have contributed to the West Nile Delta project. Now, when the construction is done, the jobs go down. There's a big multiplier effect around that, so it puts people to work, multiple people to work, not directly. Then the resource comes in, the electricity becomes more reliable. That allows other people to invest in manufacturing, lower cost feedstock, and it helps get an engine of the economy going. And I think that's one of the roles that we play with these projects. And the timing of this, because there's so much potential for resources, 18, 19, and 20 are going to be real years of improvement in Egypt.
Well, thank you for giving our viewers here a reason to look forward to tomorrow, because it looks bright in your eyes and you're speaking without compliments in terms of studies or how you look at the market and the status here in Egypt. So I thank you for that.
Thank you.
And I thank you for your time and for being on DMC.
Thank you, Osama.
Thank you. سيد روبرت دادلي الرئيس التنفيذي لشركة بي بي بريتش بتروليوم، يعني متهيألي ادانا كده في آخر دقيقة ونص ادانا كلام المفيد اللي يعني ما اعتقدش برضو ان هو محتاج انه يطلع يجامل بيه. هو قال هو شايف مستقبل البلد ازاي، مش بيتكلم على كمان 10-15 سنة، ده بيتكلم على 17 و18 و19. فهو شايف ان في حاجة ايجابية. خلينا نقول ان احنا بنسمع من هؤلاء الخبراء عشان خاطر نعرف هل هم فعلا شايفيننا زي ما بيتقال لنا من حكوماتنا ان احنا ماشيين صح وبنتحسن. ده مش صندوق النقد الدولي، دول مستثمرين موجودين في قطاع مهم هو قطاع البترول والغاز. نلتقي بعد الفاصل.